Another example, I think, I don't want to use George Santos, the newly elected Christian demon representative from New York. I don't want to use him as too much of an example because I don't think he's a real person. Well, obviously he's not. He is a construct that somebody put together. Who? The Russians? The Martians? Somebody from a different star system? I have no idea. But George Santos is not a real person. That is fully evident in how he has presented himself to the poor people in upstate New York who voted for him. Not upstate, but what was it, Long Island? Westchester County, wherever it was, who voted him into office. He is currently under multiple state and federal investigations. And even in Brazil, there's a criminal fraud investigation that's been opened against him for stealing checks, stealing people's money, something. He recently stepped down from his committee assignments to, I guess, which is part of the procedure in the U.S. House when there are criminal, or not criminal, but ethics investigations underway, as there are with this non-person. But today, Thursday, he was allowed to attend a classified briefing by the Pentagon on what sort of threats we're facing from China. George Santos was allowed in that room, and nobody knows who he is. And Kevin McCarthy is totally responsible for this. And McCarthy knows that this non-person is facing all sorts of investigations, including, but not limited to, investigations from the Department of Justice, the Federal Election Commission, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Nassau District Attorney's Office, the Queens District Attorney's Office, the New York State Attorney General, and the House Ethics Committee. So this non-person is invited into a classified briefing by the Defense Department on threats from China? Kevin McCarthy is worse than George Santos because Kevin McCarthy holds the power to throw this non-person scum to the curb. But he invites him into a Pentagon classified briefing on China. CNN reported Wednesday afternoon that one of the reporters asked McCarthy if he's okay with Santos attending this classified briefing. And as an answer, McCarthy said, "Yeah, okay with me." Oh my God. Well, now people who understand what McCarthy is opening this country up to with the continuation of this non-person, not to mention the other scum, the other Christian demons who are loose in the house. But experts are showing outrage and are calling allowing Santos to attend this meeting is a threat to our national security. Well, yeah. What will Santos do with the info? Look, nobody knows who he is. McCarthy doesn't have a clue. I don't think any member of the House or Senate, the news media, nobody knows who he is. They know who he isn't. He isn't every single thing that he has claimed that he is. And every bit of that information about him has been proven to be utter bullshit. So nobody knows who he is. They just know who he is not. The government watchdog agency, CREW, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, said, quote, George Santos should not be getting access to classified information, end quote. Well, we don't need Crew to tell us that, do we? But it went on with a statement with this, quote, Santos' misrepresentations of large parts of his background have proven his tendency to be for power or to lie for power and personal gain. It is clear that he has not demonstrated the trustworthiness necessary to guard the country's most closely guarded secrets, end quote. Okay. Has anybody informed McCarthy of this? And the president of Crew, a guy named Noah Bookbinder, says in that report about Santos, added this, quote, Santos' serial misrepresentations of the truth about a vast array of subjects have demonstrated an astonishing level of untrustworthiness. It would be a threat to our national security to allow him to serve on any committee where he would gain access to national intelligence, end quote. And then a retired U.S. Naval War College professor, Tom Nichols. This guy is an academic specialist on international affairs, including Russia, nuclear weapons, and national security. He tweeted, quote, this is insane. Yeah. And when you consider, what I said, that McCarthy is more responsible for this than Santos. Santos is a ghost. He's a non-person. He's a slitherer. Kevin McCarthy is the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. And just last month, McCarthy banned two top House Democrats, Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff, from returning to the Intelligence Committee. Why? Because they're stupid? Because they lie? Because they're incompetent? Because they're not smarter than McCarthy by a factor of what, a 10, 100, 1,000? No, they were banned because they were active in the impeachments of this filthy Nazi pig Donald Trump. Wow. Well, okay. I talk about these things. You talk about them, I'm sure. Don't you? You have conversations with people you hang out with about George Santos, among other things, just like we talked so often about, and still do, about this Nazi pig Donald Trump and the slime that support him who now exist in the House and the Senate. Sure, we talk about it, don't we? What are we doing about it? I mean, what is available for us to do about it? Huh? Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.